Thanks a lot, Lynn. Again, we really appreciate you coming out from DC, as well as not only your support, Jonathan's support, and of course the secretaries. So now I would like to bring up Dr. Birrell from Iowa State.
Thank you very much, Governor, for giving me this opportunity. We've been working for quite a few years on the harvested storage and transportation of biomass, but what I really want to talk about today is a little bit about the soil sustainability. Cobs and corn starch are going to be a major resource for cellulosic energy. There's no doubt about that, and it'll only get more. What have we learned over the last 5 years? About 5 years ago, we started looking at what is the effect of removal of the stover from the soil. How is that affecting the soil quality, and also how the harvest strategy affects the conversion. And before I want to go on, I'd just like to introduce some of the collaborators. Dr. Douglas Collin from the National Laboratory for Agriculture and the Environment, and also Kevin Kinney, who was INL, who 5 years ago we started our first set of experiments in Ames. And one of the important things in our experiments, we were doing it at a fairly large scale for experiments. One of the reasons we're doing it at a relatively large scale is that the results have to be believable to farmers. So, what did we learn? What happens with grain yield? So far, we haven't seen very much of a change in grain yield, and if anything, removal of stover, there's a slight increase in trend in the yield. Now, I think the major reason for that, and particularly this last couple of years, is because of the soil temperature in the early spring, and removal of the stover gets your germination up. In terms of the nutrient removal, how much nutrients are we taking off the soil? When it really boils down to it, per ton of material that you're taking off, it is a significant amount, but compared to the natural soil variation, it is very low. For instance, we may be taking off about 14 pounds of K per ton of material. The variation in your soils in your recommendation would be anything from 0 to 45 pounds. So really, knowing your soil and your soil testing is almost more important than the amount of soil that you're taking off. The other thing that you've got to realize is that there's a lot of variability in the field. Some fields we are not going to be taking any material off. In other fields we can take a substantial amount of material off. In certain fields you can take a fairly large amount off. In other fields, maybe 50% of the area, you really don't want to take any material off. So we've got to think about our landscape position and how much material we take off depending on where we are in terms of soil, in terms of landscape, in terms of slope. As yields get higher and higher, then the removal rates will get higher and higher. The other thing that we need to think about is we are, at the moment, a lot of farmers are doing tillage. One way to remove soil carbon is to do tillage. We may be able to get some benefits in terms of if we can now move to more zero-till and no-till by removing some of the stover, we may get a net increase in carbon and increase the soil fertility in that manner. Where's the future taking us? Well, to begin with, you look at the cobs and the husks. Those are the most valuable components in terms of conversion. As you move to the top of the plant, they tend to be more valuable. I'm not going to get into the details. As you go to the bottom of the plant, it gets less valuable, but more important to keep those stalks in the field for erosion. Later on, even at Iowa State right now, we are developing machines that can develop a variable rate removal. In other words, where you can remove more material, you will remove more material. Where you can't remove the material, you'll leave that material. The opposite of precision ag. That is where the future will be going with this technology. At that, I'll leave it, and I'll be here all day, so if anybody has any questions.